Hello everyone. Today, I'm going to walk you through a comprehensive tutorial on implementing Stripe payments in n8n. We'll be creating a complete payment workflow that generates one-time use checkout URLs, handles payment webhooks, and processes payment metadata. We've got our HTTP node now. This node sends a request to Stripe. This HTTP request node creates a Stripe checkout session, which generates a secure, one-time use payment URL. We're using Post because we're creating a new checkout session on Stripe. Post is for creating resources, while Get just fetches data, put updates, and delete removes. This URL is Stripe's endpoint for creating checkout sessions. It returns a full session object, including the URL. That's the secure payment link we'll send to our customers. All done. Now, we're going to add the parameters in the headers. First, we need to add a header called content type and set its value to application/xwww formal encoded. Stripe expects data in this URL encoded format, something like key1 equals value 1 and key2 equals value 2. If you tried sending JSON instead, Stripe would reject it with a 400 error. It's a bit old school, but this is still Stripe standard for security and compatibility. Next, we add the authorization header and set it to bearer your secret API key. Make sure you use your secret key, sk_test_for testing or sk_live_for live, not the publishable key. The bearer part tells Stripe we're using token authentication. Important, never put this key in client-side code. Always keep it on your server. You can find your keys in the Stripe dashboard under Developers API Keys. Now, we're going to add the body parameters that tell Stripe what this checkout session should look like. The first parameter is line_items 0 quantity. This just tells Stripe how many units of the product the customer is buying. The 0 part means it's the first item in the array. For a single purchase, we can just set it to 1. Next, we have line_items 0 price_data product_data name. This is just the product name that shows up on the checkout page and the receipt. Your customers will see this, so make it clear and descriptive. For example, it could be Premium Website Development Package, Monthly Subscription, Pro Plan, Dental Consultation Appointment, or Custom Logo Design. The best practice is to keep it specific and professional, since it will also appear on invoices and bank statements. Next up is line_items 0 price_data unit_amount. This is the price of a single unit, but here's the catch. It's in cents, not dollars. So $10 becomes $1,000, $99.99 becomes $99.99. Next is line_items 0 price_data currency. This sets the currency for the transaction. It has to be a 3-letter ISO code in lowercase, like USD for US dollars, EUR for euros, GBP for British pounds, or INR for Indian rupees. Next, we have the mode parameter. This tells Stripe what kind of checkout session we're creating. We're using payment for a one-time payment, where the customer pays just once. Next, we set the success_URL. This is where customers go after completing a payment successfully. For example, it could be a thank you page or an order confirmation page like https://yourwebsite.com/. You can also include checkout_session_ID, so you can fetch the session details later. Now, we have the cancel_URL. This is where customers end up if they cancel the checkout or click back. For example, it could be your cart page or pricing page, like https://yourwebsite.com/cart?, canceled =true. Finally, we have the metadata parameter. This lets you attach custom data to the payment that travels with it through its entire life cycle. You can add anything you want. For example, metadata, event, equals appointment for a booking. Now, let's move on to adding our API key so Stripe knows we're authorized to create the checkout session. First, head over to your Stripe dashboard. This is where you'll find your API keys to use in the request. You'll see your secret key listed next to the label Secret Key. Just click on it to copy it. You won't be able to see mine in the video because I've blurred it for security. Next, type bearer and then paste your secret key right after it, just like I'm doing here. This is how Stripe knows the request is coming from your account. Once this HTTP request runs successfully, Stripe sends back the full checkout session object. The key thing to look for is the URL. That's the hosted checkout page link you give to your customers. This URL is one-time use and expires after the session ends, usually 24 hours. It's fully hosted by Stripe, so it's secure, PCI compliant, and mobile-friendly. You can share it via email, SMS, WhatsApp, embed it in apps, or even turn it into a QR code. Now, let's talk about what happens when a customer actually completes their payment. This is where webhooks come into play. They let Stripe notify your server in real time whenever something happens with a payment. Next, we have the Stripe trigger node. Think of this as a webhook listener. It automatically triggers whenever certain events happen in your Stripe account. Here, we're setting it to listen for payment_intent.succeeded. This event fires when a payment has been successfully processed and the money is confirmed. We use an HTTP node because the Stripe trigger doesn't return all the details. By sending a GET request to the same URL we used before and including $json.data.object.id in the body parameters, we can fetch the session data specific to that payment. This gives us the full details, including customer info, metadata, and everything else we need. We've just configured the headers the same way we did before. Now, we'll add the body parameter exactly as shown to fetch the session data and metadata that the Stripe trigger node doesn't provide. First, we'll execute the HTTP node to generate the payment URL. Make sure to execute the Stripe trigger node first, and then complete a payment using the URL, just like I'm doing here. This way, we can see the trigger respond in real time. Keep in mind, the Stripe account we're using is in test mode, so all the payment details here are fake. Oh, we forgot to add the $json.data.object.id in this HTTP node. That's what lets us fetch the data the Stripe trigger node doesn't provide. Now this will work perfectly, since we've added the JSON ID in the body parameters to fetch the full session data. Alright, so now we can add an if node, and this is exactly why we set up that metadata earlier. The if node lets you filter different payment types and send them down different paths in your workflow. Remember how we added metadata, event equals appointment? Now we're going to use that to sort our payments. It's basically asking, does this payment have metadata that says event equals appointment? If yes, goes down the true path. If no, goes down the false path. For example, imagine an AI voice receptionist or agent books an appointment at a dental clinic for you. The booking is pending, and the system sends a payment link. Once the payment is completed, a calendar node can automatically confirm the booking. That's how the whole workflow comes together. And that's it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time. Bye.